Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you for joining me. So it is finally done. The 3 races are finished, and the Heartland 30K series is in the books. Wearing the shirt from the last race, the Boulevard 10K that we just had this past weekend, a brand new race here in the Kansas City area. It was an interesting race. I think if you have listened back, several episodes ago, when we had Brad on from Kansas City Running Company, and we talked about the course a little bit. I think people kind of picked up. I was a little leery about this course. I know that part of town, and I was definitely a little worried that we were in for it, whether it be a difficult course or kind of I don't know, just a rough area to run in. And I'm pleased to say I was right. Boy, I was on that one. What a weird race. Not a bad one. I'm not ragging on Casey Running Company or Brad or anyone involved. I mean, it was a good race. We all had a good time, finished the series, got our medals and our shirts, but weird part of town to run in, weird course, just an overall strange vibe from this first time race. But I'm sure if we go back there, more and more, we'll get used to it. It's not the worst part of town, also not the greatest. And the traffic was a little bit of an issue. The police did great, and the road closures, everyone did as best as they could. But if you have done any road races, you know that for a lot of drivers, where there's a will, there's a way. And if they can find a way to cut across the course or, drive up and down the course, even just a few blocks to try and avoid road closures or whatever, they will do it. And in that part of town, they were flying around on a Sunday morning, and they really did not care about all the runners and walkers on the roadway. So that was interesting. That was definitely an interesting little, little wrinkle in the race morning. But the race is done. So the 30K is done. Plaza 10K, KC Hustle Run, Boulevard 10K, done and in the books. So to all of those who completed their series, I say congratulations to you. I was one of them. I did the series. Also, this past weekend was the Berlin Marathon. Berlin Marathon for 2023. Their 49th running is in the books. Next year is the 50th running. Of course, this year it was won yet again by our man, Eliud Kipchoge, set another new course record. This guy's a beast. He's a monster. We are fortunate enough to be living in a time where we get to watch him do his thing, because he is the greatest runner who has ever existed, at least up until this point. So it is an honor and a privilege to watch this machine at work. He is amazing. I will not even attempt the female winner's name. She set a new course record, shattered the old course record, shattered the world record by more than 2 minutes, but had a finishing time of 2 hours and 11 minutes. Kipchoge was at 2:01, I think, something, again, ridiculous. And I'm sorry, this is going to look really weird, but I have a dog hair hanging off the bill of my cap, and now it is gone. It was driving me crazy. So congrats to the 2 Berlin winners. I was supposed to be in Berlin myself, but I had to defer because, money is what it is. But the great news is they did let me defer. So I will try again for 2024, the 50th running of the Berlin Marathon, to get there and cover the race for the podcast. So, fingers crossed. Everyone cross your fingers for me if you would be so kind. And somehow we can figure out how to get there next year. And I don't know, it should be fun. The race looks amazing. And sorry, I'm taking a look at my screen right now. Wow. This, I've got a different laptop that I hooked my camera and microphone up to. It looks better. I mean, not that I can look great. Hopefully the sound is better, but wow, what a difference a computer can make. Crazy. So let's just kind of dive in. All right, so we're done with the Heartland series, which means we're done with the KC Hustle Run. Now, you guys are going to listen to this episode and you're going to be like, dude, Kyle was all over the place for this episode. And you know what? You're right. I will apologize in advance, but I'm gonna do what I can here. So KC Hustle Run is done. Hooray. I hope everyone had a great time. People have asked me a lot, is there going to be one next year? And again, because I live far too honestly at times, I'm going to let you know, probably not. Probably not. The chance is not zero. The one thing that we will have to do the KC Hustle Run next year is a full-blown, official, all the way in corporate sponsor. Because as much as I want to thank our sponsors from this year, and I do, because that race wouldn't have happened without you guys, there were a lot of difficulties because we are just in a very tough time. It is hard to get corporate funds. A lot of businesses are struggling. So for the businesses that did give us anything towards sponsorship, thank you all so much. But without an overarching number one, big time, premium, platinum, whatever word you want to say, sponsor, it probably will not happen for next year. Now, if any listener has a business or knows of a business or works for a business that might want to get involved, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you. We can do a whole year's worth of promotion to get the most for your advertising dollar through the podcast and through social media and through everything we're putting together. And that you would definitely get your money's worth for, again, a presenting sponsor would be $10,000. I'll just tell you straight up and down. That's what it would be. That's what it will take before I'll begin the conversation of doing the KC Hustle Run next year. Because then everything else we do, other sponsors, race registrations, makes our race better and then gives more to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital should they choose to partner with us again next year. I have an email out to them letting them know about how this past race went, the KC Hustle Run, and starting talks of the potential future. Haven't heard back from them yet. Again, our donation this year wasn't amazing. It wasn't. We're putting together what we can to give them something. But without big time corporate sponsors, this race will not happen again next year. I want it to happen. I want to take on the challenge. I want to do this. This year, if we did it next year, this would be a race 100% within the scope and vision of my brain. This guy right here. I'd be the only one doing it. And so we'll just have to see what happens. But that is how it's going to be. And the reason it would just be me, as you guys know, and we've talked about previously, the Back of the Pack podcast, let's say divorce continues from our previous production company. We are now 100% solo, me, myself, and I, as we continue on in our running podcasting world. So I'm going to give you just a little history about me. If you are a new listener, you might not know some of this. If you're a very old listener, you heard this more than a year ago. And I'm going to give you the very short version. In 2010, I got divorced. A divorce that I did not ask for, that I did not anticipate, nor did I see it coming when I got there. Because of this divorce stress, I eventually came around, thanks to a friend, into the running world. Okay, so I got divorced and went final in June of 2010. In about October of 2010, a buddy of mine that I worked with, he's like, dude, you have all this energy. Like, I know the divorce stress is driving you nuts. Why don't you try running? And at the time, being a near 300-pound guy, I was like, oh, yeah, running. Okay, that's funny. Oh, but I went and I did it. I went and I got a pair of running shoes and I got some crappy headphones and I started running. And when I first started, it was to the top of the street, walk a little bit, go to the next stop sign, run, stop at the next street, walk, and all that stuff. But running was hugely important to me. And it really helped with all of my divorce stress and all the emotions and feelings that come up when you're going through a divorce. Okay, well, fast forward to now here in 2023 in the fall. I mean, we're getting close to my 13 year of running, and we're kind of going through the same situation now. Again, with just the split between Back of the Pack and the production company and our former producer and all that stuff. It's really churned up a lot of those kind of divorce feelings. Now, hopefully things don't get as tumultuous or as, I don't know, dirty, ugly is a good word, as it did for me 13 years ago. But you never know how things are going to go. You never know how people respond. You never know what's going to be important to break evenly, or I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. It's ongoing. But so many of the old emotions have been kind of bubbled up to the surface. And the one that really gets me, and I suffer from this enough just on my own, when I'm not in a stressful relationship type situation, I am a very competitive person. And I know there's a lot of you, and don't even lie right now. There are a lot of you who are the same exact way. You're just competitive. It's not evil. It's not malicious. You're not going to Tanya Harding someone. You're not going to take them out at the kneecaps. You might have thought about it, but you didn't do it. We're not talking that level of competition and competitiveness. But we want to win, and we want to be the best at the things we're doing. And when we see other people doing similar things, we want to be better than them. And there's so many times where these are the right feelings, and then there's so many times where they're the wrong feelings. And so for today, we're just going to talk a little bit about the competitiveness within our own personal running world, the Kansas City running world, just me personally, because that's all I can speak to right now. But why don't you just kind of listen to some of this and see where you land and see if maybe you need to change your behaviors a little bit, because there are most certainly places where I need to change my behaviors. And I'm going to own those here in just a few moments on this show because I know a few of those places. Now, first off, being competitive is not bad. And there are definitely people who are overly competitive. There are people who are poor sports. Again, they're bad winners, they're bad losers. There are definitely ways to be overly competitive. We're not going to talk about those so much. But there are definitely times where competitiveness is good. So I found this article. This is actually written by a weightlifter. So I thought it was interesting. So that just know that a lot of this perspective comes from a weightlifter, but it was very on point with how our competition works within the distance running world. And again, we're all amateurs. None of us are, well, I can't say none of us. All the people at Boulevard 10K or the Casey Hustle Run or whatever, if there is one person who is there who gets paid to run, well, good on you. I don't know who you are, because otherwise everyone else is paying the registration fee. We're paying to do this, meaning we're not professionals. That makes us kind of amateurs. So that's the perspective we come from on this, okay? But number one, and here's why competition is good. Competition brings out an emotion you can't capture anywhere else. That is true. That's not only just for running. That can be for sports. That can be for any of the other things that you do on some kind of competitive level. Lately, for me, over the last 3 years, it's playing indoor soccer. I played men's slow pitch softball now for 25 years. I'm kind of over it. I play because I like hanging out with my guys and, having the beer before the game and just enjoying a nice night outside. 9 times out of 10, the other team is perfectly friendly. Everyone has some laughs and some chuckles. And by the end of the night, I go home. Maybe I broke a sweat. Maybe I didn't. No big deal. But I'm kind of over it. I don't care. Win, lose, or draw, I don't care. Over these last 3 years, playing men's indoor soccer, which is new to me, and which is with a group of guys who are far more competitive, we want to win and we want to do well. And so the feeling that I get on Tuesday nights, I can't capture anywhere else. I don't capture it at a race. I don't capture it at softball. It's only Tuesday nights for an hour, but I want to win. I want to win. The most competitive I am during the course of a week is that 50 minutes playing indoor soccer. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing when I might lose my temper a little bit, or when I don't really get mouthy. I got a little fired up a couple of weeks ago, but nothing egregious or terrible. But yes, I certainly understand. And I'm sure a lot of you have that feeling of this kind of competition, or a competition you do doesn't give you the same kind of feeling or satisfaction anywhere else. So I completely understand what that is. They attribute it to the surge in adrenaline. It says the surge in adrenaline, the focus and the camaraderie, the success and the failures, all of it brings out emotional and physical responses you don't generally experience every day. 100% true. I get it one time a week for less than an hour. It doesn't translate to me in the running world because I'm an amateur. I'm not competing with anyone. There are certainly some of you who are fast enough you compete for the age division awards. Good on you. I hope that brings you some kind of an emotional feeling that you can't get in other places. I don't have that because I don't have that skill level. So I run for the fun of it. I'm not competing against anyone. Heck, maybe at times I wish I could, but I cannot. Number 2, competing teaches you about yourself. Yes, 100% true for all the reasons that I just mentioned. You do learn more about yourself, and what you can learn in that situation is how to, win with grace, lose with dignity, as they say, do all of those things. You have to see how you respond when your adrenaline is surging, when you're getting that once in a week feeling, when things just aren't normal. How do you mentally react? Can you keep yourself under control enough to continue to be you and be a decent person, or do you turn into a complete D-bag because you either won or you lost? So it teaches you things about yourself. And even if they're not positive, you can make them positive by learning, by understanding who you are and what you become in these situations. And if you realize at some point in time that you're a complete jackhole, okay, well, fix your behavior. That's what we do as adults. So it's like, oh, I did something wrong, and let me fix my behavior. So that's something that you can learn about yourself. Let's see here. Let's go to number 3. They give a lot of examples here. I'm kind of trying to turn it into running examples. These are all weightlifting examples, but if you're a big weightlifter, this is a good article. Number 3, competition makes you step out of your comfort zone. Now, that's 100% correct. And in the running world, stepping out of your comfort zone could be towing the line at your very first 5K, or it could be towing the line at your very first 10K. Whatever it is that kind of scares you, whatever it is that you think, oh, I'm not ready for that, or oh, I could never do that. I love that. I love the people. Oh, you're a runner. What do you do? Oh, I've run a marathon before. Oh, I could never do that. Earmuffs, kids, earmuffs. Bullshit. Yes, you can. Any of us can, unless there are highly trained doctors saying you cannot actively do this or you will keel over dead. You can do it. Again, 2011, I run my very first marathon pushing 300 pounds. Give me a break. Was it pretty? No. Are the pictures great? Absolutely not. Actually, really, I was lighter then. It was New York in 2021. I was damn near 300 pounds. I was in terrible shape. But again, you can never get the, oh, I could never do it. The hell you couldn't. Yes, you can. You're scared. You're too scared to try. I get it. I understand that. Trust me, I understand that. But there are people, oh, would you ever do an ultra? And of course, I immediately want to say, oh, I can't do that. Sure, I could, if I wanted to, if I had the desire to do so. But if you have the desire to do something, yes, you can do it. Or, like me, stubborn jerkhole that I am, I'll die in the effort. All right. But I'm not going to sit here and say I can't do something that I know I could do. I may not want to. I might be scared to, but I can do it. You can do it. So, yeah, the comfort zone, get out of that. Like, seriously, if you want to be a part of the quote unquote 1% of people who have done a full marathon in their lifetime, even if it's just one, no one says you have to run 20. No one says, oh, you've done one, now you have to go be a part of the 50 state club. No. If you want one, to say you have one, then go get your one. It's out of your comfort zone. You're going to step out of your comfort zone. You're going to reach your goal, and then you can just moonwalk. You can Michael Jackson moonwalk, give a little twirl and a right back into your comfort zone when you're done, and we're all going to be good with that. So don't let it, oh, I could never do that. No, don't. No, not buying it. Number 4, competition gives you experiences you'll remember for a lifetime. Yes. Again, can confirm. I can confirm because, again, I think full marathons are an experience. All right. A lot of people run them like they're no big deal. They're huge deals to me. They're big. They're scary. There's tons of people. I'm investing tons of time, both in training and that day. I mean, I am out on the course for hours and hours and hours and hours, but it's an experience. Everyone's an experience, which is why I'm not trying to sound like a big jerk face. I try and do the biggest races that I can. I don't go out and do Joe Schmo full marathon in Nowheresville Park, Missouri. That's not the experience I'm looking for. My experience is not running on a paved bike trail for 26.2 miles with no one around, no scenery, in a place that I could see at any time. I want the big experiences. And those are the experiences I'll remember for a lifetime. Remember, I've talked about the New York City Marathon so much, someone quit the show on me. Okay, but it was an experience. Boston, you guys all got the experience, the best one I could possibly give you, of coming down the finish line of Boston or hearing about Boston. The Route 66 Marathon in Tulsa, very big event. The New Orleans Marathon in New Orleans, finishing on Bourbon Street. Come on, that was amazing. Chicago Marathon, Marine Corps Marathon, Grandma's Marathon, the Baton Memorial Death March. All of these are big events. Going to Berlin, hopefully, on October 3rd, learning if I made Tokyo. Big events, big experiences, places I want to go, places I want to see, things I want to do. So that's what this is about, the competition, and just the competition of me versus me to run these big races. Those give me experiences I'll never forget, pictures that I will never delete. They are on my little rotating or cycling through smart picture frame, whatever those things are called. It is mostly pictures from my destination marathons. That is what a lot of them are. Now, a lot of them are also from the KC Hustle Run because that was a really great day. And then I think we've got one more. Competition helps you relate to other athletes and fellow fitness lovers. Now, I mean, come on. There's the cherry on top, right? I mean, that's really where it's at. So from 2010 to now, I can't tell you the people I've met, again, the experiences I've had, but the way I have connected with people through running. And I don't just mean other runners, but people who looked at me and thought, if this guy can run, well, shoot, maybe I can run too. And yes, you can. Yes, you most certainly can. So start. You can never succeed at it. You can never run a 5K. You can never run a 10K, half or full, if you don't start. One of the oldest running adages I ever heard, and I think it is entirely true, where it says the most difficult step of a run is the first step out the door. Yes, starting is the scariest thing you can do. And at some of these big marathons, trust me, when it is my turn for my wave to start, when I am approaching the start line and I'm looking up at it, it's the scariest part of any race. And even after 9 full marathons, over 200 races in 13 years, yes, I still get scared before the start of every major marathon. Terrified. There's a reason I didn't go live walking through Hopkinton up in Boston to the start of that marathon, because I was petrified. Like, honestly, I didn't feel like my feet could continue to walk forward as we're all shuffling, shoulder to shoulder to the start line to start that thing. I was terrified. I was scared to death. I was thankful that I had all the people from the team, the Boston Athletic Association charity team, who I had just maybe met 48 hours earlier, but were already as close to me as family. I'm so thankful I had all of them, and I kind of got to draw up their strength. And I'm not going to lie, and if one of them wants to send me a message and say I'm wrong, I'll sit here and admit I'm wrong. But you guys were just as scared as I was. I admit it, especially for all of us first timers, the people who had never run Boston before. Terrified. But the people in this, the competitiveness of the people there in Boston and of my team, and the people, again, not competing against each other, but competing against themselves, those were the ones where I drew the strength, and I was able to just go, and I PR'd Boston, which was great. And now I've got more coming up. Again, we're going to be in Memphis for the St. Jude Memphis Marathon weekend in December. I know of a first timer who's going to do that, and I have seen her out there, and she just kicked my ass Sunday at the Boulevard 10K because she is training like an absolute boss. And so I know Allison is going to be out there, and she is going to kick the crap out of Memphis, and it's going to be great. Amy's going to go out there, and she is going to rock the half marathon in Memphis. And then there's going to be dumb old Kyle just bringing up the rear. But I don't care, because I'm going to go and I'm going to enjoy this huge, monstrous event that I'm not competing with anyone except that dork that looks at me in the mirror every morning. He is my only competition anymore. And he is my most worthy foe, because as competitive as I am, I still get intimidated by that guy, the guy in the mirror who says, you can't do this. All right, the guy who says, oh, no, you could never run this, or you could never run that, or you can't make this, or you can't time that. That is my competition. And he's your competition too, or she's your competition. But that person who looks at you in the mirror, that's who you're against, and that is who you need to beat. So even though at times we look at other people and we feel like, oh, man, that's my competition, or that's my competition. No, your competition is the person that looks at you in the mirror. And so here's where I alluded to it earlier. Here's where I need to own up to my mistakes and eat some of my crow. All right. So when we started this podcast, I kind of looked around the area. I'm like, well, what else is out there? All right. And there's a guy, and you saw he did a video from the KC Hustle Run. And I have been nothing but a complete tool shed to this dude for no reason, and for years, for a long time. His name is Jason, and he has a YouTube channel called The Year I Got the Runs. And again, I didn't get it, but I also didn't watch it. So that was really kind of stupid. But he did a great piece on the KC Hustle Run. Well, I looked at him as competition. All right, like I'm doing the podcast, and I want to own the entire Kansas City running world. All right, well, he's got his YouTube channel, and he already does own the entire KC running world. Like, the reason there's no competition is because he's so far in front of me, like he is at most races, Like I'm not even in his rearview mirror. Like, but I looked at his competition, but that wasn't healthy competition. And the reason it's not healthy competition is because what I need to be looking at, which I think he already does, but I wasn't until now. What he is doing and what I'm doing, ultimately, we are trying to better the running society and the running community of Kansas City. That's what we're doing. We're not in competition against each other on that. We're both trying to accomplish the same thing. So the fact that I saw him as competition was stupid. It was dumb on my part, and I offer my apology right here, right now. Hopefully I never said anything too stupid. I don't think I ever did. But again, I always would just think, oh man, I want to beat that guy's YouTube channel. Oh, hell no. He is way far out in front of me. And I don't want to beat his channel anymore because what he's doing is really awesome. And when I watched the video on the Casey Hustle run, it was great. Very well done. So again, that's where I have to look at the mirror. That's the unhealthy competition. I was trying to compete against someone who was ultimately trying to accomplish the same goal that I am in bringing more knowledge and awareness and fun and attention to the Kansas City running community. Now, of course, both he, I'm sure, and I want to go bigger. I want to bring attention to the national running community. I want to be able to go to races all around the country and have people listening from every corner of the globe. Ultimately, that's what I want. That's what I'm working for. But again, that's my competition. My competition is not another podcaster. It is not Jason. It is not Clint. It is not, who was it? I think the KC Roadrunners just started their podcast. It's not any of them. Like our buddy Dave. Dave, who's been on the show multiple times. He has a podcast. I'm not in competition with Dave. We're all trying to do the same darn thing. So that's the competition, to grow our community, not to compete with each other, but to grow our community. So that is where we are in the whole realm of the running world competition. Now, if you are competing against someone at a race, you want to beat them, you want your time to be just a little bit better than theirs, that's great. And I support that. And the reason is 100 times out of 100, when I've seen it, as soon as those two people competing desperately with each other across that finish line, it's nothing but hugs and smiles. All right. It's that good competition, that friendly competition, the one that makes you want to be better, not better than that guy next to you, but better than you were, better than the person in the mirror, better than the person that you were yesterday, better than the person that you were when you started what we call this running journey. As long as you get better than those three people, the running journey guy, the mirror guy, and the yesterday guy or girl, that's where you win. That is where you can absolutely claim victory, put the medal around your neck, and step up on the podium. You're number one. If you can beat those three people, not the person next to you, not the podcast across from you, but those three people. So that's where we are. Hopefully this is a better quality video. Now it looks like I need to work on my lighting because I look very pale. Ooh. Next weekend, we are at the Oktoberfest 5K in Martin City, Kansas. That's another KC Running Company event. Just a little 5K. I don't know what we're going to do with ourselves for the rest of the day, but that'll be a fun one. That's actually the first day of October. We're almost in October, and then things get wild because after that, we've got a whole bunch of half marathons coming up for the podcast. There's a few people I know have a full marathon on the horizon. All you people getting ready for the Garmin Kansas City Marathon. Oh, baby, it's getting close. There's a lot of people doing the full that I'm learning about. So I am there for it. I hope to be at the finish line, ringing a bell or cheering you on when you come across that line. I'll just be at the half marathon. So all you full marathoners, man, if you got a KC Hustle Club shirt or a Back of the Bag podcast shirt, if it doesn't mess with your race day stuff, wear it so I can see you coming from a mile away and I can start hooting and hollering like a complete idiot, because that's really my plan for Saturday, the 21st of October, is to finish my race and then cheer on as many people as I can. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. It is my pleasure, as always. This show is brought to you by me. But hey, we've got some cool stuff coming. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to mention, I'm sorry, that was a false ending right there. So I got notified from Facebook, which is probably our biggest social media platform because I'm 43 and I only know how to use Facebook, really. I suck at everything else, and TikTok, don't even get me started. But they are starting to award us stars. Stars, I guess, in social media world, especially Facebook, are really good for, podcasts or small businesses or companies. The more stars we get, the closer we are to getting monetized, where Facebook would actually pay us to put out new episodes or to do events or this, that, and the other. Now, look, we're nowhere close to that happening. But it has started. The process has started. And it started because people are liking the page, following the page. People are commenting, they're liking videos, they're sharing. It's all about the interaction. That's how these stars get earned. You guys interact with stuff, Facebook takes notice. So they've taken a little notice, just a little scotch of notice. So I'm just going to please ask you, if at all possible, like an episode, comment, share an episode if you felt it was good enough to be shared. Tell your friends about the podcast. You can share the podcast on your feed and say, hey, friends, this is, a fun running podcast. You don't need an IQ more than your shoe size to understand what he says because he is that dumb. Whatever it takes, the more people we get involved and actively participating on the page, the more we earn these stars. So that I thought that was kind of cool. It was encouraging, made me very happy, even if it's like a star. That's something. We're doing something. We're making a little bit of a mark. And as we talked about, we want this to get bigger. We want all of the Kansas City running world to grow as one, all together. And that's what we're going for with this. So again, anything you guys can do to help that out is freaking wonderful. We will see you next Sunday, October 1st, at the Oktoberfest 5K in Martin City, Kansas. And then we've got races after that. So keep looking for us on Facebook and Instagram. We have a Twitter account that I never do anything with, but I could if you guys wanted to. And if somebody so desperately wanted it, I would try and figure out TikTok. But whatever it takes to start spreading this word farther and wider, I'm in for it. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. As again, it's just down to me doing this. And then my wife lady is helping out too, because, hey, she's more artistic than I knew. What do you know? That's pretty cool. So we're actually trying to build a new website for ourselves. Look for that coming soon. And yeah, here's hoping exciting stuff follow. Anyway, have a great rest of your week. It's getting hot again. We've got another week in the mid 80s. So be careful on your training runs, and we will see you Sunday at Oktoberfest. Bye.